right, here we are again, live at Ultimate Studios Inc. Today it's Phrygian dominant from harmonic minor, so it's one of the modes. Why is it such a cool mode? Well, first of all, Yngwie made it famous. That's his MO. He's using Phrygian dominant and harmonic minor in all his music, and I'm just gonna explain how all that works. And it's a cool sound, very mysterious. So, first of all, we'll look at what the original scale is. The original scale is harmonic minor. So we'll do it in the key of A, because that's the easiest one. Now, the minor scale, as we know, is basically all natural notes, right? You got A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. So when you look at the formula of the scale, you got root, second, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 8. Now in harmonic minor, we have what's called a leading tone. The leading tone is the 7th degree, a half step away from the root or the octave, however you want to look at it. So in this case, we're going to have A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, and A. Now that's the cool interval, right? You're going from that F, so it's really pushing towards that tonic again, that A note. And it's not a scale that is easy to finger in terms of, because you got that wide gap. It's actually called a augmented second, believe it or not. Now, how is harmonic minor used? It's mainly used on the 5th degree of that scale when you harmonize with all the chords. So when you harmonize A harmonic minor, I'll do it really quick. You get A minor major 7. Then you got B half diminished. Then you get a C major with a sharp 5. It's an augmented chord. Then you get a D minor 7. You get an E dominant. That's my 5th degree. Then you get F major 7. And last but not least, you got G fully diminished. And that's the chord that is used a lot to create all that tension. Right? And then when you apply that to the 5th degree of the scale, which is in this case E, I'm creating what's called the dominant chord with a flat 9 in it. So where's that flat 9? There's F. So I got G sharp, major 3rd, D, which is a flat 7, that makes it dominant, flat 9, 5th. Now, as you can see, I'm moving this completely symmetrical, right? That's the beauty of it. It's a symmetrical chord that gives you symmetrical fingerings. Everything is a minor 3rd away. And that's the big part of this harmonic minor sound. Now, when you apply modes in any scale, be it in the major scale, be it in harmonic minor or in melodic minor, you always emphasize a specific degree of the scale. For example, Dorian is the 2nd mode in the major scale. So if we are in A minor, right, and you go like, okay, what's the relative major? That's C. So that means in C you would have to go to a D and then put the emphasis on that D chord. So what we're doing right now is we're going to put the emphasis on the 5th degree of the harmonic minor scale. And that's E. And as I showed you before, E is actually a major chord. When you add the 7th, it becomes dominant. And that's the chord that you obviously use when you play a turnaround in music in general. And for example, let's say you do something like this. That's that E major, so it's that 5 chord, right? And you would play A minor scale over this, play G, F, still A minor, right? And then here you go to a harmonic minor to emphasize that G sharp, that it's part of the chord. Right? So you play natural minor, natural minor, natural minor, harmonic minor. Right? Some people make the mistake of just playing harmonic minor over everything. It's like, well, no, then you're killing the vibe of harmonic minor, which is all that tension. So when you say, for example, I do A minor and E, well, I'm switching back and forth between two tonalities, so natural minor and harmonic minor. And my main focus today is I'm just going to stay on that 5 chord and create the vibe around that 5 chord, but using the mode of a harmonic minor, so 5th mode. So when you analyze that, what do we get degree-wise? We get obviously the root is the 1, F is the flat 2, so that's the Phrygian ingredient, right? Then G sharp, which is the major 3rd, 4th, 5th, flat 6, another Phrygian ingredient, flat 7. And then why do we call it Phrygian dominant? Because the major 3rd and the flat 7 create a dominant chord. And what's the Phrygian component? The flat 2 and the flat 6. That is also a big part of metal, to use that flat 2 back to 1, right? Now, you can really create all these tension chords, right? And the beauty about Phrygian dominant is you can have a bass player just hit an E note. Let me just mute that keyboard. Right? And I can play that Phrygian dominant sound against it. So the emphasis is really put on that flat 2 and the flat 6 and the major 3rd, right? So that creates that really exotic, some people call it Eastern, Middle Eastern, you know, from that part of the world. Okay? Now, lick-wise, what is all the stuff we can do? Or there's plenty of stuff you can do. The most obvious choice is we have the diminished arpeggio at our disposal. So why? Because it has the majority of the notes of that E7 plus the Phrygian note, right, which is that half step above the tonic. So let me play that bass line again with just giving you that drone, right? And I'm gonna play diminished over it. So how do I know which diminished do I need? Is the one that is either the major third of this root, so, or from the flat 2. Those are your two big references, right? So I'll do it from the third. Now, the beauty of this is it's symmetrical. I can move it all over the place. You can get really technical with it, do all these type of arpeggios, which you probably heard guys like Yngwie and company do, and there's nothing wrong with it. Even the gypsy jazz players do. Right? It's just a very distinctive sound. And sequences you can do, oh, there's plenty. So let's just look at some of the sequences we can do. Right? It's all in triplets, right? Arpeggios. You can sequence arpeggios, right? Things like all right, it's just groups of 5 notes, but you play them fast enough, and all right, so let's see how that sounds. It's kind of fun. Again, this whole diminished sound is very, very dramatic, has a lot of tension, but technique-wise, it's a lot of fun, and it's movable, right? You can do big stretches, you can do sequences, right? You can even add chromatic notes in between, for example. So let's see how that sounds. That's actually pretty neat. Just don't do any chromatic line, because then you don't have any harmonic reference. Just keep it inside your frame, inside the arpeggio, right? So that's a cool way to add chromaticism for something very common, which is a diminished arpeggio. Now, when you write a riff, it's the same deal. There was the one riff I was playing before. I'll play it again. And I'm just doing the metal thing where you just pedal the low E. Basically, what am I doing? I'm just playing the scale and then adding a couple of power chords. And really emphasizing that the third, and that flat 2. Okay. Let's look at some other sequences that I like to use. First, you got 1-string sequences. For example, again, it's a triplet, right? triple it, triple it, triple it. The way I'm doing it is just top note, and then shift to the low note, shift back to the top note. Do it up here too. All right. Oh, this sounds pretty neat. Okay, that's one example. Here's another example where you can use this line. Again, it's a triplet. And then you can add a high note. So let's hear the context. And I took that shape and moved it down this particular pattern, which involves a part of the harmonic minor scale. So I'm just following this tritone frame. Fairly easy to remember. You're just shifting a fret back almost on every string. So it's not completely symmetrical, right? It's not like this. It's not. It's like, nope. That would be the fully diminished scale, but we're doing the harmonic minor. So it's basically F, E, and D, and then B, A, and G sharp. All right. You can do another longer sequence, for example. Again. You just play them fast, right? That's how you get that effect. But I'm just playing the same run on 3 octaves. It's just over 2 strings. It's just, it sounds long, but it's just 3 times the same thing. All right. Another thing I like to do, I like to flip this sequence around. So if I go, I do it, but I like to start it low. So I go like this. All right, and then up here, when I slide up, I like to connect it maybe to a diminished arpeggio. So, and this is a very long diminished run or arpeggio. Now it takes a while to get used to, but I'm using all 6 strings. And this is movable, right? You can do it anywhere if you keep the minor third distance. Okay, this is always the same minor third distance. Now, what would this sound like over the roof? Brings a lot of excitement, right? You got all that tension, and at some point you may want to resolve it, and usually it resolves back to the 1 because it's the 5 chord in A, so eventually you might want to resolve to A minor. And when you do these, they usually sound the best when you time them. Sometimes when you play them just fast for fast's sake, it actually doesn't really help the musicality of it. So at least these ascending ones, I try to play them rhythmically in a specific grouping. So in this case it's 6. So I'll play that again. Then descending the same. Now the other one I was doing, which is this one, it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it's 12 notes. Again, it's always the same run or tonality for that matter, but it's very, you can hear it a mile away, right? Harmonic minor is just, it's that whole diminished flat 9 sound, right? So it's used in flamenco music, it's used in neoclassical music. It was used a lot in the early days in Baroque. Our friend Sebastian Bach just say, hey, we got diminished, and then let's use it. And it's used a lot also in like heavy metal, more like progressive, dark metal. They use this mode a lot. It's just a very, very distinctive sound. And if you can create riffs with it, it's great, because it adds a lot of tension, right? It's not the typical minor. It's not the typical major either. We're like, it has that sound, So as long as you keep that E first major chord, and then the second is a half step up, you got 2 major chords next to each other. It becomes Phrygian dominant automatically. And when you have a bass that is just doing an E pedal, you can add the riff on top of it and it becomes Phrygian dominant. Now, if you want to add more chords, you have to be careful that you don't step away from the A harmonic minor scale. So I added a D chord, and that D chord is actually minor. So you have to watch out. You want to stay inside the A harmonic minor scale. And that's pretty much it. So till next week, this is a very cool sound. I like it. It's very popular between shredders, and explore it. Find some cool ideas. get that diminished sound, going into your vocabulary. It's lots of fun. All right. See you next time.